talk about?
I think you should bring up some topics. I brought up the last two.
Uh, for the did you really?
Yeah, I brought up two already. I brought up healthy food and empathy.
Um, mm, I don't know if you were the empathy one, but um, just give me 1 second. But we never actually talked about healthy food.
No.
I mean, to be honest, it's not that interesting.
Idea of talking about different food could be healthy for different people depending upon what their overall diet is, but different people will choose different diets based upon their system. And I was going to say that I was going to try to tie it into like the veganism versus non-veganism conversation.
All right. Well, I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm pretty out of my depth when it comes to nutrition. But I do believe that veganism largely is a healthy way to live.
A lot of people say that it really isn't. And I myself, I
Well,
wouldn't really try
who
it.
says that it isn't?
A lot of different people, a lot
Who
of different
who like
whatever.
who?
I mean, I don't know specific people. I don't keep track of that stuff.
Well, that's pretty important if you want to like make something that's like scientifically accurate.
But I don't have to know who the people said. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but
No, it
you
matters
know,
because if you're not asking if it's not nutritionists, then I don't really care what they have to say.
no, yeah, it's definitely nutritious.
Okay, all right.
It's some of it's nutritionists, some of it is nutrition science researchers and stuff like that. But there's mixed data out there. Different nutritionists say different things. Some nutritionists say vegan is completely unhealthy. Some
Mm-hmm.
nutritionists say that eating meat is completely unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't
So,
really agree with either of those sentiments.
I agree with yeah either sentiment. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't need to like it's even though I don't consider myself a centrist. Usually, I don't think truth or like with nuance. I think it comes context, and with context comes perspective. So I don't really like fall on either side of like well the polls are a little bit arbitrary depending on what you're talking about, because really I think you can go in either direction for infinity depending on whatever topic you're speaking about. But
so
what?
45% of the population can't digest vitamin A that well through non-meat products.
Through non-meat.
So be vegans.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, where's that
because
information
vitamin,
coming from?
a nutritionist on a website that I read.
Which are you like looking at the?
Nutritionist, doctor. I haven't. This is just something I remember. Okay, 45% of people have a DNA sequence where they can't digest beta carotene, vitamin A from vegetables that well. So
Mhm.
I have concluded that those people probably shouldn't be vegans. And he said, those people may take consideration before they have a vegan diet. So for some people, being vegan wouldn't work because they're not going to get enough vitamin A.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What would you say?
Well, some people won't be able to get vitamin A properly from just eating plant products.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not super sure on the like how because I'm sure it's true to some extent. Like I would imagine that most people or different people have different ways of absorbing nutrients. So there's probably some spectrum of people who can't that like retain vitamin A as well as other people. But to say that they like can't go vegan, like there must be like supplements and like what about like vitamins, like just in the most, um, like just taking like supplemental vitamins, wouldn't that be able to combat their?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't know enough about the information. There's too much conflicting information. So, like, first off, if I was a vegan, I would get tested for that.
You would what?
Sure, myself that if I was gonna decide whether or not I was gonna go vegan, I would get tested to see if I have that gene. If I do
Okay.
have the gene, then that would mean that I could digest. Um, but I have my own thoughts about meat, and personally, when I go for a while without eating meat, I don't. I just feel hungry.
Uh-huh.
Like I need to eat meat every so often, just to not be hungry all of the time. So,
Okay.
um, maybe I am in the 45%, and the hunger comes from not having vitamin A.
Well, so I'm not sure entirely because vitamin that doesn't really have to do with like vitamin A. Like it's not like vitamin A fills you up more than like say vitamin D. Or you know what? I really don't know. Like to me, this conversation seems kind of moot because neither of us really have any kind of like you know data to go off of, or like we're not really super what's it called familiar with like
Educated.
nutritional consensus or anything like that. Because you can pretty much find anybody in the scientific field if you're going out with a confirmation bias to like find someone to affirm your preconceived beliefs. So, and that's not exclusive to you. I'm saying that about myself as well. But so it's really hard to like gather data from like a completely, you know, objective point of view. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that yeah, in order to like really have this conversation, we would need a little bit more. Like I would just like have a nutritionist on basically, because even if
Or
they
even somebody who's just read like I mean, we could have a priori discussions about this. You know, like because I mean, what do we know about immigration? We've heard about immigration a lot, but are we immigrant or are we people who have tried to illegally immigrate, who immigrants?
yeah,
We
or
have
like
we really know about what they do.
an immigration specialist. Well, there's a lot of different ways that people immigrate to the U.S. We wouldn't just have to talk to like someone who was here, quote unquote illegally, but we would have like a lot of different. Oh, what's that?
We probably don't want to incriminate them over a podcast.
That too. I don't think anyone really want to out themselves online as an illegal immigrant. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, we can go back to that conversation, even though I kind of would do so begrudgingly. That's why I wanted to ask you if you had anything that you wanted to talk about.
I haven't been paying too much attention to the news recently. I've just been doing my own things.
Oh yeah,
I
like what?
I haven't been well. I've been and
You've been what?
read different books and things like that.
Okay.
Um,
What kinds of books?
kind of boo. Just you know, kind of need to read, but we'll leave it at that.
What?
I've got myself into a pickle.
Ooh, do you not want to talk about
The-
what you want to do? I mean, what you're reading about?
Yeah, I kind of don't, man.
What are you
I
reading? Are you reading Mein Kampf?
No, I'm not reading Mein Kampf.
Okay.
If I was, I would be more inclined to read about Mein Kampf because it would mean that I'm reading a historical book. I'm not reading something that could be potentially embarrassing. But
Dude, you could just say what it is. I don't
oh,
know.
I don't really know who's listening or whatever. But
Nobody. Here, I can check to see how
oh,
many viewers we have.
how many viewers?
I think it's just me. I have the stream on another
Oh,
tab, so no one's viewing it right now. But it's going to go on in my YouTube library. So whatever. Like,
somebody's gonna read it and pay us.
what
I gotta.
what's so embarrassing about like to me, it's more embarrassing to admit that I don't read at all. You know, so like if you're reading
Oh,
anything, then I feel like that's a little bit more than what I have going on.
and I gotta read like uh,
What,
I gotta read like books about.
dude?
This
It's
is this is
fine.
public. I don't know, man.
What? It's like race realism. What?
Oh, it's something to do with race.
Okay, because I kind of have. If you're just like leaving out any pertinent information, I kind of have to assume the worst. I don't know.
I'm reading books about how to make bombs. No, just kidding.
Okay, that would, that would be at least interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it would be at least interesting. No,
A bit
man.
concerning, but
Um, I'm just reading a lot of self-help books. I'm reading a lot of, and
okay. That's not really that embarrassing.
but it's embarrassing because It's not anything that I'm like really doing, and I've been studying a lot of forex charts to perfect my system. So I've been doing a lot of that.
You're what?
Oh, forex. It's financial trading, currency trading,
Uh huh.
the foreign exchange.
Yep.
Working on my system, and I'm reading books, and that's what I'm basically doing. So I haven't been keeping up with news, or apparently Trump wanted to buy Greenland yesterday or something like
I
that.
don't fucking. That's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, he wants to nuke a hurricane now.
Yeah, that just sounds like he's saying silly things.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think? What's your opinion of Trump? Because we haven't really talked about him
Oh,
specifically.
I don't mind him. I think he's doing pretty okay, but I'm a big conspiracy theorist, and I think that he's
You
trying
don't
to start the
say.
new world. So, I would buy it. At the end of the day, you see the Illuminati, the logo, you see the triangle with the eyeball in it across all these forms of media.
Uh
You
huh.
know, we don't have any explanations for that. Where's the explanation
Um.
for the reason why there's all this
So,
Illuminati imagery in all this media? Where's the explanation? There's
well,
none. So there
well,
must.
I looked at my
It's all I can.
I looked at my skin recently, and if you look really close, like into the pores, you can see like a lot of like shapes and like triangles and stuff. You know, so
No, man, that's not
I'm like
Illuminati.
wondering if
No,
I'm maybe part of the Illuminati and I don't realize it.
like there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this media that
What media?
makes you wonder.
American media?
The mainstream media, and I think it occurs
Well,
in
what?
some foreign media as well.
How do you define mainstream? I don't know what that means.
Ian, have you ever watched Illuminati conspiracy videos on YouTube? They're
Um,
gonna point it. They're gonna point everything out to you, and then you're gonna be start seeing it. You're gonna start seeing it in all the medias
all right.
and everything that you're not all of it. There's mainstream media where it's not there, but there's mainstream media where it's there, and you just wonder why the fuck is it there? What is it doing? So yeah,
Well, to me,
to
the
answer your
idea.
question, I would definitely say that you want to pit Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. Good luck, because I would definitely side with the people who would say that the Clintons are more on the side of it than Trump is. You know,
I think
and
they both really any uber powerful like political class or whatever and like financial class have some kind of dark shit going on. Like I just kind of take that as a given. And to me, you don't really have to get too conspiratorial to like find a bunch of stuff in media that you could call propaganda. You know, but I would we would split on like what kinds of propaganda we would call it. Like you would call it, I don't know, pro. I don't know, man. I don't want to paint you
I
too
no,
harshly, but
oh,
I
you
don't know what kind of like what influences you would say the mainstream media is trying to propagate. But I would definitely say that capitalism is like a huge one, you know, because it just makes sense. Like people in power want to retain the power structures that give them that power, and they do that under capitalism. So of course they would want to propagate and you know feed into that system, right?
See, this is a really long conversation to start having because then it becomes, well, how do you know that it's necessarily capitalism? I want to,
Because
say,
it's self admitted.
okay,
People openly
so
say like I'm capitalist, and
self-admitted.
I yeah, it's not.
What do you
Well,
mean by that? There's people who say that I
what?
want everybody to be a capitalist. There's lots of capitalists who are, you know, they very much are not about being big and corporate and stuff.
But
There's a lot
that's the
of,
logical conclusion. But then, do they still call themselves capitalists?
yeah, they do.
Yeah. So,
Um,
and do they
but
engage in capitalism? And do they hold
well, okay. So if you're
financial
talking
power over
about,
people?
if you're saying that, let's even go to the extremely outdated political compass test that says a genuine free market requires regulations on predatorial national companies to make monopolies. Basically,
Uh-huh.
saying that a genuine free market needs to have regulations to prevent some corporations from getting way too big. Like we had the glass that prevented some
Okay.
corporations from getting way too. Corporations are
I'm sorry.
and
My
state and
frames are
big,
chugging. What did you say?
um,
Oh God. Hello. Hello. Hey Matt, can you hear me? Hello. What the hell?
did I mute myself? No.
I couldn't hear you for a while, so maybe I don't know what happened.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm back. Um,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm
So,
just trying to lower my bit rate, so hopefully we'll get less
oh,
frame dropping. I don't. Yeah, I really don't. I'm not a huge streamer, so I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
yeah. So I think that I would consider myself a capitalist because, well, I'm not gonna say because. I'm just gonna pick the capitalism camp by default, and then I'm gonna
Yep, that's usually
say
how it
that.
goes.
Well, would capitalism not be the default? Do interactions not have basis in supply and demand?
Yeah, but that would be a market system that doesn't necessarily equate to capitalism, right?
Well, a market system where you have supply and demand, you're saying that that's not necessarily capitalism.
Yeah, because they exist with like if we got rid of capitalism, like we would still have aspects of like supply and demand, right?
Okay, so you're just saying that because some people would say that capitalism is the default because supply and demand is the default, and supply and demand is essential tenet of capitalism.
It's something that sort of facilitates capitalism, right? But it's not
Mm-hmm.
entirely exclusive to capitalism. Like under a socialist society or communist, you would still experience supply and demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The So the idea with capitalism is to well, let's say that the idea of this is because it's easier to define the um I suppose you could say the goal of socialism is to equalize the supply and demand.
Um, maybe not necessarily, but yeah, it's to I would say. Oh man, again, I do not have a political science degree, so I'm really just kind of speaking from what I can understand, and like I'm using kind of social definitions. But with that being said, I think that socialism is an answer to the sort of natural hierarchies that form under capitalism, and capitalism is just sort of like a reinforcement of those hierarchies. That's how I see it. Because
Mm.
capitalism, left unchecked, doesn't really do anything to um, help the bottom, level of our class system. It
Hmm.
doesn't really give a shit about people on the bottom as long as there's an acceleration towards the top for some.
Yeah,
That's kind of like a dumbed down version of it, but that's something that I have observed.
yeah, but I wouldn't say that it's. I sort of with capitalism and socialism, we've kind of confused ourselves between the two terms to see like maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that, and
It no,
actually just
I totally said it's way more complicated than that. I'm freely admitting that,
yeah,
but
and not only that, but the fact that
doesn't mean
we
that what I
are.
said is untrue though.
So yeah, I wouldn't mean to say, oh, I disagree with you. What I'm saying is that if because we're focusing so much time on this is socialism, therefore this is bad and this is bad. We're thinking just within that spectrum, and maybe it's more of a supply and demand situation because if
What
just
is?
going to have anything in life, so
But I just told you that supply and demand isn't exclusive to capitalism, though, right?
it's not. So
Yeah.
since it's not exclusive to capitalism and it's not exclusive to socialism, then that means that supply and demand is more important than either socialism or
No, it
capitalism.
doesn't mean that it's more important. It just means that it exists outside the purview of like political, stances, right? It's just something that sort of like exists within society.
Well, then let's look at individuals. Let's say that individuals
Well, we're
have
talking about
their own
societies, so
supply.
I don't know why we would
Yeah,
talk about.
so let's start with the so if we start with the individual and we'll say that the individual has an innate supply or something like that, which is
What
not
do you mean?
necessarily
What do you mean by
true.
innate supply?
An innate supply of that they give to society.
When
You can't necessarily say that because you could say that, I'm going to be a little bit judgmental here, but somebody who, let's say like a homeless person who's a heroin addict doesn't provide much value to society, or we don't see their value because they've
sure they're not.
and they're mentally unhealthy, they don't realize their worth, they turn to drugs, they're now on the streets and things like that. So there's no demand for people like that, and
Uh-huh.
the person might have other qualities that there's a demand. They don't realize that because of their situation that they're currently in and their psychological state that they're currently in.
Uh-huh.
So
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but yeah, I would just say
yeah.
the reasons for them being homeless and being an addict are probably different than the reasons you think that they are. But okay.
Well, I think that a lot of it is psychological states, and
Well, what does that
the
mean? Like that's you kind of need to
that's well
extrapolate
this
that.
is what we this is yeah, exactly, but I'm starting with the idea of psychological states. I think that after just as much as I can tell, people are where they are because of their psychological states. However, how do you
Well, not only
alter
because
somebody's
I'm sorry to interrupt but you can't only say someone is where they are because of their psychological state. Because where did that psychological state originate from? Right? It's all
well,
this.
that's
It's
what I'm
all this.
saying. That is that saying how deeply ingrained is their psychological state and how much ability do they have to change it and to realize it and things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So um because you'll see the guy, the rags to riches guy who then becomes an asshole and says, oh, these poor people, they're so lazy,
Uh huh.
I was poor too and I worked myself up. And it's like, well, yeah, but you have a certain psychological state that they didn't, and you got out of that situation and they didn't.
Well,
So
it's again, it's not merely because of that psychological state that they were able to ascend their that they were able to become economically mobile, right? There's plenty of other factors that like you could have the most perfect like work ethic or whatever, and then you get hit by a truck, and then you're out of work and you can't provide for yourself. Like
Oh well, I
there's
mean that's like a foundation though, because most people don't get hit by truck and get
yeah, but no,
disabled.
but there's that's just one
But
example of like any number of contingencies that can
yeah,
interrupt
I'm
someone's.
I'm talking like the middle of the standard deviation. What's
Yeah, yeah,
going to happen to you, stuff like
yeah.
that.
But I just
You know,
to it's just it's kind of a I don't know. It's a little bit because what I see people doing, it's like oh they were able to get out of their financial instability because of they worked really hard. Where it's usually way more complicated than that, right?
no, it is probably more complicated than them working
Not
hard. They
probably
probably had
like
a.
it is way more complicated than that.
It's on what we're thinking about, but I would say, what else did they do besides work really hard? Did they have a certain aspect of their personality that nobody in their environment would have been able to understand and say, this person got a better job, smile for a couple more seconds every time so this one particular thing happens, and that was they
uh,
were able to influence their situation that way, and they maybe didn't even realize it. And while
but that's such an like comparatively such an inconsequential variable that I don't really see that as being you know
no, it would be several
responsible
things. It
for.
wouldn't, yeah, but it would be like their smile, the way that they, their vocal tonality patterns and things like that. Because I
Yeah, I
think
would
that
argue
would,
that it would be the
mm,
aggregation of like all these qualities plus their
yeah,
environment. Like it would be they're all kind of rolled into this one um, you know factor.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, how well are you going to be able to control your mind? You know, how much time do you have to meditate a day? You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that I know some people who they slept 4 hours and ate nothing but potatoes for 2 months for every day of the week because they had to work like 80 hours a week or something like that at a restaurant. And just the fact that they were able to get a job that paid them 80 hours a week says something enough. They worked for 2 months. Did I say 2 months? I don't remember.
I'm sorry. What example are we on? I kind of
This
missed that part.
example, this guy, it was either for 2 months or 2 years where he had to sleep for 4 hours a week and eat nothing but potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you know the psychological state that you have to be in order to complete that without going insane or without or actually just being able to get such a job in such a situation. Like if you're going to be poor and stuff and your job situation is insecure, you might be expressing more anxiety in peers who are also interviewing for those jobs, and then you're not going to get those jobs and they will. And well, why do you have that anxiety? Because you stayed on the computer during elementary school and they went outside and played kickball. Like just mind melt.
Yeah, there's so many confounding factors that it's really hard to isolate them. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
my
I'm
my
not.
my stipulation would be that like it shouldn't be on any one of us like sort of like again talking in terms of like what's socially necessary in order to achieve cohesion or just like progress in society. It shouldn't we shouldn't put a sort of hyper individualistic like responsibility on people to improve their situation when we're not giving them the tools to do so because the only way that anyone succeeds in the US or really anywhere is by interacting and communicating with other people regardless of their situation. There's no way to not improve your situation without engaging with your environment, right? Even you take the most individualistic, super awesome guy, your Bear Grylls or whatever, and
What did he do? He read books. He watched YouTube videos. He talks to people, etc. That's a form of interaction.
yeah, but I mean, like, even if you put him in the most like deadly environment, he's only able to sustain himself by interacting with his environment and like sort of well, that's pretty much it. Is what I mean. Like the sort of myth that we all need to make it on our own is kind of it's kind of dumb. There is a place for personal responsibility, but really to put that on any individual person in a society is kind of silly.
Well, I put it on myself because other people put it on me, and ultimately there are things I do want to do
Exactly.
myself.
Yeah.
Like I don't have much of a choice, and then the question becomes, well, should I have much of a choice? And I don't know, because there are people at the end who are a lot who would disagree with the idea that I shouldn't be out for myself. It's there's people, just because somebody's old doesn't mean that they're right, but
Mm-hmm.
there are things that older people say that are based on a lot of living, and they're not saying everything when they just say a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a side that maybe they're aware of their own psychological state, but then there's also the fact that I'm not aware of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to mesh brains
Mm.
and as something, I'd be like, whoa, I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't realize this. And I've always wanted to mesh brains with somebody else. There was,
Well, at what point would you stop being yourself? But I do find that to be very interesting. I think that the greatest cure for evil is like understanding, right? Because that's the only way we can have any chance of changing our situation is by learning more about it and engaging with it. With like as much information or as much relevant information. I'll make that stipulation is that, just sheer data doesn't really do anything for us, but it can help illuminate to like what's really going on. Right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, what were you gonna? Was I cutting you off? Were you gonna say something?
Nah, you weren't cutting me off.
Okay, I do think that is a pretty interesting thought experiment though, right? Like if you were to say you were to do something horrible to someone, right? And they this is kind of a bad example because this can't really happen. Like it's not based off anything that
Okay.
we can really observe, but just going as a thought experiment, you do something really horrible to someone, and then your brains are able to communicate in like that really um, hyper
Telepathy.
yeah telepathy, but more so that rather than telling someone how you feel, they instantly just feel what you feel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
so you basically become like the same person. That person, that synthesis would now have a perfect understanding of the factors that went into the decisions that made this negative event occur, and there would no longer be any animosity uh, or like self hatred because you would just be completely able to rationalize like why exactly what happened. It doesn't mean that what happened was good. It just means that you have the full context now, and it's because who would you take that hate out on yourself? What good would that do? So to me, that's a good rationalization, even if it's just a thought experiment, of like why you don't really respond to hate with hate. It doesn't mean that you can't correct things. It doesn't mean that you can't change your behavior or like say cut people out of your life or even cut people out of society. Maybe not entirely, but to an extent where you're just like putting them in a place where they can't affect anyone the same way that they did. But to hate them really does no one any good.
So would you say that to
Yeah.
get the most accurate picture of yourself, you want to flash back your whole life a lot, like flash everything, because causally that is you. Causally that is what has shaped your psyche. So you should just go back and forth throughout your mind every single thing that made you who you are all the time.
I
And that's
don't
like the best way.
I don't quite get what you mean.
Well, causally. So you want to talk about the way your brain is, why it's like that, why your personality is the way that it is. It's because
Hmm.
of every single thing that you want to find who you are. What you want to do is you want to just, take that little slider of time, that's your timeline in your head and just go left and all over the place, all the images of all the different memories you have. And that's the accurate picture of who you are.
Hmm.
That's the most accurate picture
But
you can get. And
right.
it's like, yeah, that's the accurate picture. But
But
I don't
it
know.
wouldn't it wouldn't end
I
with
feel like
myself, right? It would go even further back to like my
technically you
conception.
don't know what that
Yeah.
is, though. You
Huh?
don't know what that is yet. You're just saying going back through all the memories and you're just going through everything, and then that's how you see it. That's how you define yourself.
Sure, that would be a useful tool if I had like. Did you ever watch Black Mirror?
I haven't watched possibly the episode you're going to reference.
It's the pilot. It's oh shit.
I haven't seen the pilot.
I forget the name of the episode. It's called like Everything Between You and I. Let me look it up now because it's got an interesting name. But it's basically you have. It's not too far fetched. Like it's a pretty realistic extension of where technology might go, which I think is the best Black Mirror episodes have that going on for them. Um,
Yeah.
Let me just look it up. Um,
Okay.
Come on. Oh, here we go.
So I
No, it's
mean, I'm
season one,
talking
episode
about
three.
like,
My bad. It's yeah,
yeah.
National Anthem was the first one. That's right. My bad. No, yeah, it's called it's episode three of season one, the entire history of you, and basically what it is, it's you just have like a little, it deals with it has like AR in an interface as well, but it has a there's a little camera in your retina or like in your iris or whatever, and you can basically just record any part of your life and play it back whenever you want to. And it plays with that idea,
Oh.
and it goes through a story of like relationships, social gatherings, and then eventually infidelity and trust and all that stuff. Because like when you can literally play back anything that ever happened to you with like, and it never really goes into like faking stuff, which I think like a deep fake or whatever, like or like putting in false memories. It pretty just sticks to the conceit that whatever you're seeing is what actually happened. So
Mm-hmm.
with that taken as the assumption, like how that would affect people's relationships and how they communicate with each other and all that, and ultimately, I think we are going to see at some point, because it just seems inevitable to me that some technology like that would occur. Because like if you had
Oh,
the
that
ability,
would be horrible.
I mean,
You that no.
you
Oh
can
my
make the
god.
argument that the internet would be horrible, and it kind of is, but it still exists.
Oh man. I mean, just think about how many people with their lives completely fucked over. Somebody to see like maybe not only what the person if the person did horrible things in the past, but what if the person was like mediocre in the past or something, and then
Mm.
or laughing stock, like how bad is that going to be? You can't. People use it on job interviews and shit, and
Yeah, I mean that happens in the show. Yeah, yeah. So like I mean, you know, hopefully you would have parameters on like what people are able to see, and you could potentially like delete memories that you don't want to keep around. You know, um, so I don't know.
oh, I'm just saying, for angle that I want to sort of have like a um a non-verbal description of who I am, just for me to be able to reference it from like a mental image point of view. I want to reference the images of my memories, and then what I do for that is I just have my slider. Metaphorically speaking, I have my slider and slide it back and forth to see different periods of time. And as we're talking, I'm thinking about a lot of different memories that I haven't thought of for a while, or that I just haven't thought of in general. a
Okay.
lot of different things,
Like
and
what?
oh, just different specific conversations that I forgot about because I just had no reason to particularly remember them. And
Um.
well, there was this one conversation where I was to a friend of my cousin's at one of his birthday parties, and we were discussing drums, and he was talking about how he had a Tama drum set,
Fuck. Yep.
and he had double bass pedals on his drums.
Hmm.
And now I'm remembering playing lots of air drums. You know, I still don't have a drum set, but one of these days I'm going to get a drum set because I want to actually play the drums. I know how to play the drums. I can play the drums pretty well. I can play a lot of. Actually, to be honest, if you just give me a song to listen to a couple of times, I could learn how to play it on the drum.
Okay.
And I don't have a drum set, but I was playing ear drums for a very long period of time. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and
Hmm.
then when I sit down in front of a drum set, I'd be able to play.
That's cool. I'm really bad with like full body rhythm. Like basically any that I the best way I could replicate a rhythm would just be by beatboxing because it's all encapsulated in just one instrument, basically, or just one not instrument, but well, yeah, your mouth. Like you could essentially say that drums are like many instruments, right? You have like the bass drum and the snare and the hi hat and all that. So to keep my body in time with all of those is kind of it's not impossible, but I think it would be hard for me to do. But that's cool that you're able
It's
to.
it be you know it
Yeah. Hello. Oh my god. What the hell, guys? What the fuck?
what drawing something at the moment.
No, you just cut out.
Oh, am I still cutting out?
Oh, my friend wants to hop in. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let me just respond to them real quick.
Alrighty.
Dee. And who the hell is this? Who's Maria69? I don't know who that is.
Maria 69.
Yeah,
She says hi.
apparently.
So who's joining us?
My friends, Saren, who is, I'll let them speak for themselves, but they're non-binary, so
Oh.
yeah, I can't really promise that I can't promise them that you'll respect their pronouns. I might
That all
even
respect their pronouns?
I might even slip up, which is really harrowing to think about
Um,
because yeah.
are they listening to the conversation at this point in time?
I don't know, honestly.
Hello.
Hey, what's
Maybe.
up?
Huh. Yes. Hi. Yeah,
Hey,
I've
Hi.
been listening a little bit. Hello. Nice to meet you.
hey,
Greetings.
Sarah, this is Matt. Saren's listened to a couple of the streams in the past, so they're kind of familiar with you. But Matt, if you want to introduce yourself.
My
Yeah.
name is my name is Matt. Hello.
Hi, I'm Saren.
Nice video group call.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So feel free to continue. I will jump in as needed, I guess.
Well, I feel like we should like include everybody in the conversation, right? Make things interesting for everyone involved. But
why don't you jump in on your own accord, Saren?
not
That's
not too
great.
interesting. Let's hope. Yeah.
No, not any revelations for me, I promise.
Okay.
You don't read the Bible?
No, in fact, I don't.
I
That's
started
a
reading
fun
the
to learn
Bible,
about me.
but it didn't really interest me. I
Yeah, I
remember
feel the
just
same way.
I can't get past the part in the beginning where it's just saying person begat person who begat person who begat person.
That's not the
It
beginning.
happens
That's like
after
a few books in.
it's no
No.
it's a yeah, it's a few books in, but it comes after Noah's Ark, and it's just this person begat this person.
Wait, you got to Noah's Ark?
I got past yeah,
How
and
many
then
hundreds of pages is that? How much scripture is that?
oh, it's like page 60 something, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I did try to like go through it, but yeah, and after that, it's just all this courtroom drama, and then this is
Courtroom
lighting
drama.
foxes on fire. Yeah,
There's
it's
a lot
something
of
like that.
intense genealogy.
It's some fucking courtroom drama about a marriage.
Sarah, I'm going to turn you up a little bit because it's hard to hear you.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Yeah, it's some courtroom drama about a marriage that's supposed to be going on, and uh, then I believe somebody was lighting foxes on fire, but it was so boring in the way that it was being told, it didn't interest me. And I'm like, oh man, I was kind of looking forward to this story.
Oh, what a condemnation of the Bible, right? If they can't think Fox is interesting.
So it never made me look at the browser Firefox the same way again.
Wait, you say boxes or foxes?
Foxes, like the
Oh,
animal.
okay.
Yeah.
They're just saying like they're setting boxes on fire.
No, and then they run through like a wheat field and they burn down all the wheat, and it's supposed to be some I forget what it was. I think it was some punishment because this girl wouldn't marry this old guy.
Oh God, that deserves the worst punishment of all.
Oh yeah.
Joking.
Well, you know how it is. Modern day Pakistan.
Yikes.
Mm.
Anyway,
But
so
now that the bars,
what's
they're
up?
taking apart. Oh well, they take apart the batteries and throw the acid in the women's faces.
Oh no, that's too bad. What's your favorite part
Well,
of the Bible?
my favorite part of the Bible. I'm looking forward to the Book of Ezekiel when I get to read the shit about the aliens.
What? I thought
Yeah,
that was
there's
like Revelations.
no. Well, there's stuff in Ezekiel too, and it talks about like strange things coming from the sky. Like there's eyes coming from the sky and neon lights shoot. It's very odd.
Okay, I mean that's all. You only call those aliens based off our modern interpretation of what aliens are,
Yeah,
right? Like gray
yeah,
aliens and all that stuff. Like I think the
a lot of people
Roswell
say.
incident had a lot to do with like our understanding in mainstream media of like what aliens would look like, right? Because that's what that was described as.
Well, that's probably only one species, but yeah,
We could talk about that. Do you believe in aliens, Matt? No,
yeah,
I'm
I
not talking
do.
about illegal aliens because obviously you don't believe in them.
Well, nah, no. Well, it could be a distraction because let's just say that those aliens came to Earth and we kidnapped them and we're hiding them in Area 51, and that's like our distraction. That we have now stop thinking about the actual problems in our government. But besides the ethical problems of, aliens decided to visit Earth and we're kidnapping them and we're never letting them go because that's fucked up. But
Yeah. So you don't, but do you think that aliens exist or have like contacted us?
yeah, I actually think that the aliens be hiding aliens somewhere as a form of distraction. Like the government has
Wait,
kidnapped live aliens that they're
wouldn't
holding prisoner.
wouldn't the government distract us from the fact that aliens exist rather than use aliens as a distraction from the problems that are actually happening?
Well, the debate over whether or not it exists is part of the secret.
Oh, okay. So they use the excuse me, the debate of whether or not they exist, but they do
Mm-hmm.
exist. They do exist, like that M&M's commercial.
And I should read up on it, but I've heard enough people say that they exist and they have read into. Maybe they do. So maybe I should just read on it, but I don't want to withhold an opinion necessarily just because I haven't looked at it necessarily. But
Okay.
otherwise, I mean, I would definitely say that, yeah, there's other forms of life on other planets, and that's a problem with the idea of Mars. What if there's creatures on there that might prey on us if we go to
no.
Mars?
Do you think we might know that by now?
I don't think we would know it by now necessarily because we've never really photographed the planet at an in-depth enough to be able to discern this.
Well,
if you wanted to look for life on Mars, you'd have to scan the whole planet.
Isn't that what Curiosity is doing? Curiosity is like on the ground.
Right.
Yeah, it's currently doing it, but they haven't found anything.
Yeah, but if there was any kind of life that would be threatening to us, don't you think that would be pretty? Like, to me, the fact,
especially the kind of life that could prey on us potentially.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, like a big Mars monster, like a Mars Squatch.
I'm thinking that, okay, so first off, Mars I think is bigger than Earth, so the creatures are going to be smaller anyway.
Wait, are they? Does that?
If the bigger the planet, the higher the gravity, and the less size the creatures can grow. So,
well, we've never seen animals on other planets, so we don't really have a barometer.
Mars is smaller than Earth.
No, there is a study in biology. This is generally something that, in any circumstance, the more oxygen there is, the bigger the on Earth at least, the bigger the creatures can grow. But at least conditions, the more gravity there is, the bigger the blue whale is the biggest creatures we have.
Wait, sorry, what was that?
The blue whale is.
No, Matt, give me 1 second. What did you say?
Me?
Said,
yes, Saren.
They.
Sorry. So they said that Mars is.
Wait, what? I gave you an opportunity to speak. I thought you were trying to say something. Hello?
Me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm literally just pointing out that Mars is smaller than Earth. So if your premise is based on the idea that it's bigger,
yeah.
Okay, so Mars is smaller than Earth. Creatures could be bigger on Earth. But the Curiosity rover, how much has the Curiosity rover explored the planet? Because this I do not know.
Okay. Well, Matt, let's just take into account that you just thought that Mars was bigger than Earth, and it turns out that it's based on. I haven't looked at it myself.
It's like I think the third smallest planet. It's a very small planet.
Okay.
So let's see how much of Curiosity, how much of Mars has Curiosity explored?
8 Mars would fit inside Earth.
Oh, that's a small.
Yes.
So,
that is a small.
Okay, Curiosity. How much of this has been explored? As percentage of the total area of Mars, essentially 100% is unexplored. So Curiosity
less than 1%?
Less than 1%, yeah. So life on Mars, we wouldn't know yet because Curiosity hasn't explored.
Life on Mars?
But yeah, I think that's what Curiosity is doing.
It's other environmental signifiers, right, of life beyond literally finding the life itself, or am I totally off-base there?
Yeah, there would be waste, there would be debris.
There's that, but also if you think about microscopic, does Curiosity have a microscope on?
Sure, but are those really going to be a huge threat? Thing.
The thing with that is you could have chemobacteria that don't need oxygen to live or anything. You might have small carnivorous parasites that will gang up on piranhas and eat you. So
yeah,
you might. All right, so
you wouldn't want.
I'm less interested in the actual creatures that do exist, or that have a possibility of existing. I'm kind of curious about just conceptually, Like, what do you think
Yeah.
it would mean for society to like find something like any form of life? Because I'm the kind of person like what's the kind of there's some like law or like some theory that states that based on probability, like the amount of worlds like Earth that could sustain life, there should have been life already somewhere else. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
if there is life, for me, just my personal opinion, this is not based on like data or whatever. It's just kind of like philosophically what I think would be the most likely case is that they've either hidden themselves or ostracize us, or we're like in some kind of like petri dish or whatever that they're observing, like in between dimensions or like in another universe or something like that. And there's
That's
just
exactly
like,
what I think.
and there's this just fractal that like keeps going on and on and on to like, you know, that there's people who created them and they're not observable by, you know, their gods and whatnot. To me, if aliens do exist, it's some sort of like weird hyperspace or like simulation type thing, which I think is really cool. But they're also kind of dicks, but I get it.
Well, okay,
yeah, I mean,
if aliens...
suck, right?
Sorry, let me just let Sarah respond. What?
I was saying, I mean, we kind of suck, right? So it's fair that they might want to distance themselves.
Yeah, but the fact that I can even state that as like a possibility, I feel like they should
Seems
be
like it could be enough for them to come see us.
just a little wink and a nod would be nice.
Give some of us some respect, you know?
Yeah, or just like help us out to be less shitty. You could easily do that, right? That's why I don't
understand. But I don't know, maybe they have some philosophy about it, you know? Like,
it's about people like us.
Yeah, like they're so like much further progressed than we are that their idea of like what makes something good or like valuable or like have like social worth or whatever is so far removed from what we think it is. Yeah, there's so many possibilities for that. But anyway, Matt, what were you gonna say?
Well, I think that's a thing is that if they exist, they very much probably exist in the physical reality, and they're on other planets that are very far away, and they're not coming here because they're not interested or because they're concerned that we're going to attack them or because they don't find us interesting, or it's because they actually just haven't gone over to our place yet, or they don't have the resources necessarily to do it because, you know, you have to probably spend a lot of money to hyperspace. Because you have to hyperspace.
Spend money? What do you mean? What the fuck do they need money for?
Well, whatever resources they need to get over to Earth, they don't think it's worth it to come to Earth.
You know, we don't fuel our rockets with like change, right?
Well, you need to buy the fuel. So whatever they need to do to get
I'm taking the piss.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So maybe they fuel their rockets with piss, and then they just go.
No, I was using a Britishism, but yeah, I gotcha.
Britishism. Maybe they're fucking afraid of the UK.
I think so.
Everybody's breath is bad, and they don't want a part of it.
Gee, dude, take that kind of racist shit off my stream. I can't believe you would say something like that. Take that back.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. It's funny. Like what the one reactionary, well, not the one, I guess, but one of the things I can settle on is it's kind of fucked up that we can just make fun of like whatever white countries we want without any pushback at all whatsoever.
Bro, you asked me if I took a shit on the street in India during one of these streams.
What? Did I?
I'm pretty sure you did. Like it was like the running joke.
No. What?
Some sort of running joke. Look, either way,
talk about you taking a shit on the streets of India. I don't remember that at all.
Okay, yeah, well, I remember it a little bit. But
it might have been someone else or something you said that I didn't hear.
And it might have. But either you talk to people from India about shitting on the street, and they laugh at it as much as you do because they don't take offense to it that much.
Hey, man, people be poor.
You know?
I will never doubt that the like poverty, creates some pretty sticky situations. If you catch my meaning.
As far as I know with the street shitting, because when I went to India, I was in Punjab, and there was not a lot of street shitting. Punjab is a Sikh. The street shitting is more of a Hindu thing. It's like certain sects of Hinduism.
It's part of their religion to shit on the street. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, dude. There's a ceremony in some. poop, and they just like throw their kids into it. And like they like decorate the elephant poop with colors. And then they throw their kids in there.
Well, first of all, elephant poop isn't really poop in the sense that we think of it, right? Like there's like videos of elephants like shoving their trunks inside their assholes to like eat the poop that hasn't like been fully digested yet, because there's so much nutrients in it that they haven't like fully processed that it's.
I don't fucking know, man. I think elephant poop is nasty. Like,
well, you do because you're not an elephant and you're not hungry.
Listen. Elephant digestive systems are way different from a human digestive system.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dog.
But people in elephant poop, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe elephant poop is edible, and I could eat elephant poop, and it would.
No,
be
okay. I'm not saying it's healthy enough for us to eat. I'm saying it's healthy enough for them to eat. But hey, maybe it is. I don't know.
Okay, so you're saying that maybe the Hindus saw the elephants eating each other's asses, like, and eating the poop.
No, I'm not talking about the Hindus, man. I'm gonna let you say, I'm gonna let you have all that shit.
I don't know if the Hindus came up with that idea either.
I don't even know that they did, but okay.
No, it's serious.
Sorry,
Let me
what?
look for it. Oh man, the phone's bright. Hold on, I can't look at it yet. So from 11:57 to 12 o'clock every night, PM to AM, my phone goes off of red mode. The blue light coming off of my phone is awful, and I hate it, and I'm just not going to look at my phone for like the next couple minutes.
I heard that blue light gives you cancer.
I don't know if it gives me cancer, but it definitely makes it hard to sleep. So
it was either cancer or AIDS.
What it does is it makes it bad for you to go to. It's hard to go to sleep.
I permanently keep everything on the blue light filter, so can't relate.
The blue light filter? Well, the blue light filter is what I'm talking about. The blue light filter goes off for a couple.
Why?
I don't know. It's just the way my phone is. It says, how long do you want your blue light filter on? And I say I want it on from 12 o'clock a.m. to 11:59 p.m. because it's like the best that I could do. So it takes it off at 11:57 and puts it back on at 12:01 or 12:02. Sometimes it
technology
varies.
Working perfectly.
It's a fucking iPhone, and it's not doing this stuff. And there's no app that I can download that gives me a 24/7 blue light filter.
But capitalism leads to the best possible product.
Well, it should, but I mean, Apple. Apple's a bit of a monopoly. However,
which only came about because of capitalism.
Well, I mean, the government could not sustain.
What?
So I don't know all the details behind why monopolies exist, but I know that to a certain extent there's an interplay between government and monopoly. I'm not going to say get rid of government monopolies, and I'm not saying that the government doesn't cause some of the monopolies either. There's an interplay.
I don't think they cause it. I think they allow it.
Yeah, they do because they
which I would also say
they corrupt each other. They corrupt each other, and different situations. Like the different companies would be like, "Hey, vote for this, and I'll get you in office." A lot of that stuff goes on.
Yeah,
and so yeah, but how can you prevent that? People have vice virtues, and politicians are people.
Like companies,
it is
with non-individual persons to donate more than a specific amount of money that is reasonable for an individual to a political.
There is. It's $5,000, I think.
What?
Something like that. Yeah. There's something with the super PACs or some limit actually. And it's like $5,000. But I don't even think that that's where the corruption. I can't even imagine what the corruption is. All I imagine is there's this game for the iPhone, Dictator, and
what's it called?
I imagine. It's called Dictator.
Oh, I just heard tater. I thought it was about potatoes.
It's free for 3 days and then it's $8 a week. But I didn't.
Sounds like capitalism.
$8 a week. I just paid. I didn't pay anything. I just downloaded it for
I paid
3 days.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, Bitcoin. That market sucks. No people are on the thing.
Oh, really? Yeah,
There are people
you could
buying
probably give us
drugs.
the inside scoop about Bitcoin because you just trade currencies all the time, right?
Well, I do Forex, which is a lot of people on it. I don't do cryptocurrency because there's not a lot of people on it, and you can't really do the 1 minute chart. I like doing the 1 minute chart. But with
Huh.
cryptocurrency, you can't do that because
Yeah.
there's just not a lot of volume. You can't go short, and so you can only make price goes up, but not make money when it goes down. So it's been going down, down, down because nobody's making money when it goes down. And I think that if you could make money when it goes down, then it would also like go up. That these so like on the stock market, you have put options, so people can make money when it goes down. So this way, price doesn't keep going down because then there'd be too much supply and not demand or whatever combination in that direction, and then it would go back up. It's a stabilizing factor. So
Uh-huh.
because Bitcoin keeps going down because you can't short it, so there's no stabilizing factor in keeping it up. You can only make money when it goes up and making money down. Whereas the stock market and Forex, you can make money either way. So,
But I mean, wouldn't that
there's
mean
like a
that
stabilizing
anytime it
factor.
goes down, it would just keep going down?
No, because then saying, "Oh, the market is going to do this," and so when everybody thinks the market's going to do one thing, it ends up doing the opposite. The market does the opposite of what most think is going. So that's why when you have a strategy, you don't tell people your strategy. So if everybody has a different strategy, hypothetically, everybody could make money if they don't tell each other their strategy, and they just all go in at different times, and then going up when they're supposed to go up and go down.
Yeah, you cut out at the last moment, guys. I'm really sorry.
Did I cut out really?
No, at the very last moment. But yeah, I guess
Oh.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, Bitcoin they just need to have a place where you can short Bitcoin, and then that would take care of some of the issues, I think. But also people are only using Bitcoin for trading a lot of the times. They're only using Bitcoin to make money. They're not using it for other stuff. If people use Japanese yen in Japan to pay for things, people use the British pound in the UK to pay for things, but nobody uses cryptocurrency to pay for things unless you're being like an YouTuber who has a Patreon and you're like, send some cryptocurrency my way, wink, wink.
Or you're buying like sketchy shit. There is that.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. So Bitcoin is never going to be $0 because maybe you're buying sketchy shit, or you're buying something that's not sketchy, but the government thinks it is, and either way, you got to pay in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Is it like it's like less traceable? I'm guessing.
It's completely non-traceable, and it's pretty much completely non-traceable. And my brother lost 20 Bitcoins in Hurricane Sandy. He had 20 Bitcoins and he lost them in Hurricane Sandy. No, it fucked up his computer. Like, he lived down the shore, so he had flooding, and it fucked up his computer. And yeah, but if he had kept those 20 Bitcoins, that would have been else. No, he didn't have the Bitcoins. Sad days. No, it's not. But you need to have you could have like a paper wallet where you write down like a bunch of words, and then that'll be what you use to get into it. So you could log onto any computer and type in so many words. Like, it'll be like cat, candle, chandelier, volume, button, and it'll be like that'll be a password for your paper wallet, and then you just carry that around, and that's your paper wallet. And then you type it in on any wall on any computer, and then voila, you have access to your money. So it's kind of like an online bank account. It works with anything on the blockchain network. So the blockchain network is connected to any Bitcoin wallet.
Mm-hmm. So he basically just lost all his passwords then. That sucks.
He lost all his passwords. He lost 20 Bitcoins 2012.
So that's like a lot, right?
It's a
Well,
lot.
it would have been a point that was $20,000 for one Bitcoin
Yeah.
in 2018, and yeah,
What
that
is
would
it
have been
now?
good.
What's the exchange?
Right now? I think it's like 11,000, something like that. It went all the way down to 3,000, and then it got up to like 10,000 again. People are like looking back into it and stuff. This could just be like some third wave of people being psyched out, and then it's going to go back down again. But so fucking Binance.com is being made illegal in the United States. You can't trade on Binance anymore. And that does suck. Binance was like the big currency trading place. Like you could trade crypto and just on that website.
Yeah.
But they're making it illegal to do that in the United States. I had an account on Binance, and it's really the easiest market because there's just not a lot of liquidity, and you go in and then the price moves. You know, it kind of sucks when you go in and then you move the price and then there's nobody to sell it to. They call that slippage when you go in and then you can't sell it, or you go in and then the price moves up in the direction and then you can't, you just haven't made any money. So there's a lot of slippage in crypto because maybe you have like two other people trading at the same time as you. Whereas on Forex, you have like 2,000 other people trading every minute that you're also on. So it doesn't really happen as much.
Okay. Matt, I don't want to be rude. This topic is fascinating, but I don't really have the brain space to like draw and think about something that I have no knowledge of and or interest in.
Okay.
No, that sounds worse than I mean it, but I just thought maybe we could talk about something that I can,
my interest in it is as far as I can use it to fund my music career.
That's cool.
That is the interest that I have in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that's what you'd want to do? Given a like blue sky hypothetical, like you'd want to make your money doing music.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't want to go. I hustle for music. I don't want to have to. I don't want to do any starving artist shit. I don't want to go through that. I just want to be able to be in a good headspace to make good music.
Yeah, because that kind of pressure kind of destroys your creativity.
Yeah, I want to. I would prefer to have a 40-hour work week at a job I absolutely despise, and which a lot of people and piss about having a 40-hour work week. Although, okay, you can debate whether or not it's the cream of the crop, but it's probably better than being in jail for on one hand, and then also
it's not a
sorry, what?
very high standard.
Yeah, I wouldn't use being in jail as a barometer to how I like find fulfillment in life, especially like jails in the U.S.
Imagine somebody who's been through jails and they're like, "Yo, man, I just want a normal life," and then they get a normal life and they're like, "This is the dream."
Hey, why'd you say "yo, man"? That's racist. Just kidding.
Oh, I guess there's a lot of racist people, isn't there?
Yeah, no, I was what? Okay. Anyway,
a lot of people say "yo, man."
I say "yo, man." I was just joking.
Yeah,
and I was
yogurt.
Actually, that would probably be a woke like joke to make because there is a disproportionate amount of. Anyway, so what? Gee, I'm just being honest. Anyway, so but yeah, so.
Oh no, you were accidentally woke.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think if you've been in jail, that's not necessarily like I wouldn't necessarily come out of jail with like, oh man, I've been to jail. Now I can do anything. I've suffered the worst. Now the only way to go is up. Like that's not necessarily how.
Well, so you're probably going to be reading other people's intentions differently than they're going to be yours, and they're going to think that you're hostile.
Well,
what do you mean while in jail?
Oh, when you're out of jail, that's probably going to be your number one obstacle is trying not to think that people are out to get you the way they were in jail.
It's like objectively a fact that most employers don't hire felons.
Yeah.
Walmart hires felons.
I said most.
I know
Yeah.
most, but it's kind of like, oof. Well,
Especially
okay,
like
well,
the
you can.
kind of good, like, decent, quote unquote, work week jobs you're talking about. Like, I don't know how much Walmart is hiring people for, like, hiring ex felons for acceptable jobs. Like,
Yeah.
decent,
Well, it depends on what you're
hardworking,
doing.
whatever.
Let's say you go to like optometry school and then you work at the eyeglass place.
Someone's gonna get out of prison and then just go to optometry school.
Oh, maybe they could. I mean, think about
Where
it.
are they gonna get the money?
You get the right type of welfare. You can apply for financial aid. If you're really poor, they're going to pay for it. And then work at Walmart as the optometrist. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Maybe.
it's a little bit of a stretch. You know, it'd be,
All
it'd
right.
be fucking
like
hard.
how many people would even have backed those fucking Walmart optometrist jobs
There are,
available?
yeah, there's like one per Walmart, but
Yeah.
you get the idea.
But I mean, I'll stick with your hypothetical, Matt. Like, so say I get out of prison, right, and somehow I had a nest egg or whatever, and I get out of prison, and now I want to go to optometry school. Like, what kinds of obstacles do you think I would run into if I was trying to get like an optometrist job?
Optometry, okay. I think the first obstacle you would run into, like I was saying, is other people saying shit. Well, but rather I phrase it. I'm just saying other people saying shit. Your obstacle would be trying to reperceive people, because
I think it would primarily be other people perceiving you, though. No, that would be my first thing, and then
let's say they don't know that you're a felon. Let's say that they don't know that you're a felon. You come out of jail. You know, let's say
you have to put it on the application, though. Don't like all.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, let's say that these people aren't even asking if you went to. Let's say
in order to fill out like a W-2 or a 9-9, you have to.
Dude, I'm not even talking. I'm just saying any of that stuff. Just without that stuff. Let's say that you're not even going to work for a job. Let's say you're going to get out of jail and you're going to start a business.
Well, no, we were sticking with your hypothetical, though.
Yeah, the hypothetical is that you're talking about specifically an optometry job at Walmart, specifically.
Well, not specifically Walmart, but yeah, an optometrist job, yeah.
Okay, an optometrist job. Well, let's not stick with just an optometrist job.
Okay,
that was me
all right, we can switch it up.
Okay, let's say that you're coming out of jail, and you know maybe
what was I in jail for?
You find what were you in jail for? Let's say you were in jail for
I pet a dog too hard on its head and its skull exploded.
Well, let's be realistic. Let's say you got to jail for like, say you were in jail for assault, like beating somebody to death
with a salt shaker,
like a hammer.
Oh, okay.
So you're definitely a felon.
So you're definitely a felon at this point. You spent maybe 5 years.
That's
in jail.
a felony.
Okay, now let's say that why did you beat that person in the head with a hammer to begin with? What type of psychological state?
They exploded my dog's head. So I retaliated in violence. Sorry, I'm just being stupid. Sorry.
So let's say you already inferiority complex. Before you even beat this person to death, you already have an inferiority complex.
Sounds like me.
You take it out on a guy, and you beat his head in with a hammer, and he dies. And now your inferiority complex gets even magnified, and you go to jail, and they see your inferiority complex, and they pick at you in jail. But that's so fun. And then you join a gang, and then you learn the ways of the gang, and so now you maybe the inferiority complex anymore, but you still see people as aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're outside of jail, and well, what are you going to do to make money? You might go back to
what? Sorry.
You might go to selling drugs because let's say you're the jail, you joined the Aryan Brotherhood, whatever. Because white, so
Oh, jeez, Matt. Why do you pick that one first?
Well, okay, if I was in jail,
Yeah, I don't think they pick me. I'm a Jew.
I don't know. Maybe there's a Jewish. I'm not a white supremacist, but I would join the Aryan Brotherhood and say that I was a white supremacist just so I wouldn't have to deal with the shit from other people.
Yeah, just pretend you're a white supremacist.
I'm from the South. From the South. I've been told enough I can't get away with you, so I think we're stuck with that one.
You can't get anywhere with what? You said you can't get anywhere with what?
Pretending that I'm not Jewish.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, yeah, maybe you could pretend, but I don't know.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
what else? Maybe you could convert to
more than enough. I clearly look like I'm part Jew anyway. So
do you?
I've been told by white supremacists, so I feel like.
Wait, you've been told by white supremacists?
Yeah, but how smart are they?
Well, okay. I mean, there's a lot of Jew that are just simply Eastern European features, and the reason for that is because, well, a lot come from Eastern.
Yeah, exactly.
They have Eastern European features like large noses. Such
I
as
literally
myself.
just look kind of Russian, and
I'm
that's enough.
Polish and Russian, and I have no. And you know, Vladimir Putin, like a Jew, he's not Eastern European features. So anyway,
but the fucking white supremacists don't trust you.
Well, to a certain extent, I think that if they're really concerned about whiteness more so than the religion aspect, I think they wouldn't care. They would say, "Well, you're from Russia. You're white," And I mean, Russian Jews are white.
No, no, they don't. It's not enough.
I don't know. Bad. I think it depends on what the person is saying because a lot of the white supremacists are concerned that Jews are going to take over the world.
Yes.
They don't trust a radical Jew from a non-radical Jew.
Yeah.
They got their high beams on, but
what's a radical Jew? Is like someone tries to circumcise everyone?
Yeah, radical Jew. Yeah, they.
Or is it just like a rabbi on a skateboard? Look at me! I can do a 360 even.
Well, which fucking misreading everyone has with my username. It's an ultra bris.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that there's the Jews in power that like the hardcore Zionists that want the Israeli state and the people that you can only.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. That they exist.
Mm-hmm. I'd say they're probably the vast minority of Jews, but yeah.
It's
at least in
minority
the US.
A minority of Jews, even the minority of Jews in Israel. I don't think the Jews in Israel really want they like Israel. They just want to keep it that way.
So I'm guessing you're not a Zionist then, Matt?
Am I a Zionist? No. I do not believe in a world government.
I mean, do
especially not a theological one based in Judaism.
Okay.
But and I think a lot of the Muslim hate right now, it's a lot of Zionist propaganda distracting them and saying, "Oh, these Muslims are causing the problems," even though we've been aggressing the area for a very long time.
Okay.
But I think that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too because then you see that there's a lot of Jewish people who are anti-Zionist, and then once they become anti-Zionist, they get shit on. People like Adam Sandler. Everybody likes to say Adam Sandler sucks and stuff like that, and I know really. I think he's pretty okay. But
yeah, I still like Adam Sandler. He probably says some shitty views. I mean, he's pretty conservative, so I don't know. We'd probably disagree on a lot of stuff, but I still like the guy.
He came out with that movie "Don't Mess with the Zohan," and yeah, that was you could say it was pretty quote unquote red pill about the Israeli Palestine conflict.
Oh yeah, I never saw it, but did it go into it at all?
It went. It was like the whole film was nothing but that. Like the whole film was just like a whole statement about the Israeli Palestine conflict.
Okay.
What?
What was the take?
What was the take? Well, the take is that it's not the Muslims or the Jews causing the problem. It's the corporations, that influence people on the different sides. And
Damn, I'd say that's more bread pill than red pill, but
bread pill?
yeah, you're not familiar with the
Yes.
term?
What's bread pill?
Oh shit, are we gonna bread pill you right now?
You're gonna bread pill me?
Yeah.
What is
It's
that?
basically like I would equate it to like class consciousness, basically, right? Sarah, you can correct me, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's essentially just like there are systems in place that disenfranchise the poor people in society, and it's not really a big pill to swallow. It's a pretty tiny pill. There's
Well,
not a lot.
I
What?
don't know if you know this, but like the whole bread thing is like a big meme in reference to like fucking Kropotkin. So
Get
it is
that
like
bread?
maybe a, not that particular.
Well, because bread
Within a,
in that sense refers to just money, right?
But I
yeah,
always
but
assumed that
no,
let's
but
get that
within a
bread came from
leftist
like communism.
within a leftist context, yeah, it comes from Peter Kropotkin's work, literally entitled "The Conquest of Bread." And it's like I mean, it was originally written in French, so it's "La Conquête du Pain," but
The conquest for
fucking
pain.
yeah, pretty fucking much. That's literally what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's like the sort of the fundamental work of anarcho-communism. But it is generally used to refer to like any sort of leftist like class awakening. It's just bread is just a really fun fucking meme for people.
Yeah,
Let's get the bread.
yeah. So maybe someday we'll bread pill you, Matt. But I'm not holding my breath. I'm not holding my bread.
Oh,
You
when
can
I go
always read The Conquest of Bread.
when I go back to school, I'm gonna eat some low carb diet, so I might not be eating bread. You have like maybe cheese. You can cheese pill me.
Because we're all just rats in a maze.
Despite all my rage.
I still can't get past the first stage of depression.
Denial.
Yeah.
Wait, you got all these podcasts? You think you're Joe Rogan or something?
What? No, I'm not that cool. I'm not that epic. Oh,
Okay.
Matt, I gotta ask you. Do you listen to Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
All right. So, did you hear the Bernie Sanders episode?
I did hear the Bernie Sanders episode. Yeah.
Okay. What did you think of it?
I don't like his view on taxing speculation because that's what I do. I'm a speculator. I speculate the currency market, and he wants to tax it 1%, which is 10 pips of profit, which is actually a lot. Now, if he were to specialize it for Forex and say that he's only going to tax it like 0.1 pip or something like that, it's just there's problems involved with trading when it comes to like I don't have to deal with commissions because I'm not trading that much money, but also just the bid ask spread is really annoying. So that like due to the point where I might be making like there's going to be a point where I will be if I figure it out. It's my strategy. I'm going to be making a lot of money. Sure, yeah, but the thing is that for a while I'm only starting with $2,500. When you tax Wall Street like a small amount of money, what you're hurting is the short-term traders. And the short-term traders, a lot of the times, they make maybe less than 300,000, and they started from like a small amount of money. So somebody like me with $2,500 who has a good strategy for the Forex market wouldn't be able to build an account because of these taxes and things like that. And I just think that there's other things we could be taxing instead. But I don't think that. No, I mean Wall Street speculation helps a lot of things. Besides that, it
helps Wall Street.
Well, why is it that you think that he wants to tax it specifically then? Like, you think his goal or his motivation is that?
Well, because he thinks that it's gambling, for starters. Yeah, sure, a bad trading strategy is gambling, but a good trading strategy based on probability and reaction to the behavior in the market is not gambling. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works if you can figure out. For enough of the time, it's not gambling.
I
I mean,
wouldn't.
And
I'll admit that I didn't listen to the interview specifically, but like, did he state that as the reason why, or is that what you're extrapolating?
no, he didn't go into detail. But everybody talks about it like it's gambling, and someone like me, I want to just kind of do my thing, and ultimately, if
Yeah, no,
I have
I don't think it is. I wouldn't say that. I would say that like I agree with you that there's a degree of like understanding the market and
Yeah.
making reasonable
Mhm.
choices with regards to probability. But I think for me, like the concern is more the people who have access, the information that makes them understand feeling that is largely people who are born to some degree of privilege already, some degree of financial privilege.
Hmm.
Like most people who grow up poor don't understand how the markets work, and so will like never be able to take advantage of that. And I say that as someone who was.
Yeah, and or also like considerably like trying to get food poor and stuff. And I'm not in a
Oh no, I
situation
mean, I
now,
mean,
and
I grew up like learning the financial because I grew up with my
yeah,
dad.
yeah, that always sucks because you grow up with privilege and that's how your mindset works, and then you become poor, and then in the world of poor people, everybody beats each other like dirt because they're trying to get ahead, and it's like, oh shit, I'm in the sewer now, and I don't know how to deal with it.
Okay.
That was my experience, like
But like
no,
I've actively like in my classes, like I've seen the way that other poor people like do not even have like the most basic fundamental like economic understanding, right? And people like me who can take advantage of that are people who, regardless of my current situation, were born with some degree of privilege. And I think that that's probably, I don't know necessarily, but I think that that's probably the motivation people like Bernie Sanders are coming from in taxing that sort of thing.
yeah, but I mean, he wants to tax it to the point where somebody like me wouldn't be able to get foot in the door.
Yeah, no, I
And if
understand.
and that frustrates me because, sure, I have my big motivation. I want to be a musician and I want to fund my music project. But if I'm able to build it up to the point where I can make a lot out of it, I want to, put that into scientific research on important stuff. I want to fork over like a lot of money to things. George Soros, he is a forex trader, and he gives his Clintons. Who knows where else he puts his money? I don't want to put my money there. I want to put my money into real shit. You know, uh, Elon Musk, if he can give like $1 million to Flint High School and give them fresh water fountains, he's got his own motivations and he's not giving money out left and right. No, that's a thing to think about. It's like, what if I actually don't want to just keep giving it because maybe that's just bad money management or what comes up with that. But ultimately, how can you say that if the government makes it harder for people to get rich on their own, then then it make it harder for good people to help people who are not?
But again, my
And
point, right? My point was that the people who have access to this sort of thing are really largely the people who already have some access to privilege, right? And that's the thing that differentiates them necessarily that they're good people or hardworking people. Or
I
do you
don't know
think
what
I'm
this has to.
like,
I don't really know what this has to do with privilege per se, because the stuff that I'm doing with it, like the stuff that I'm doing with it, I don't know how much of it is necessarily attributed to privilege per se.
So much.
I
So
think
much.
a lot of the skills that I'm using, I learned because of a certain type of disprivilege, over the
Disadvantage.
course of just because of and get along with people, and I became a shut-in for a large portion of my life. And when I started coming out in high school, at that point, I've built up a very good system of sort of maybe logical thinking that I can use, but I might be at another disadvantage in other realms.
Hmm.
And who knows this and that, but I just personally, because I've found uh, trading, because I think I have a shot at it, and I think I have a shot at my goals and aspirations. I just don't want to vote for any Democrat right now, even if they do, even if they are in favor of my career choice. Like someone like Bernie Sanders is not, and someone like Elizabeth Warren is. I like Elizabeth Warren for that.
Uh-huh.
I don't mind Joe Biden as much as Bernie Sanders because Joe Biden also doesn't mind it. But to some extent, I feel like Bernie Sanders himself is misinformed. And if someone tell him, oh, this is actually the reality, he might all change his mind because some politicians, they don't really know all the details of what they talk about. And then when someone informs them, they're like, oh, that's actually the case.
Do you really think that like the majority of people who have some sort of like knowledge about the stock market that would be useful towards them to be able to like make profit on it? Do you not think that those people are largely people who grow up with like parents with money, for example?
Well, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that people, because ultimately I don't think that, maybe we could say, oh, well, people should be encouraged, research trading because it will, make them profitable.
So Matt, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
First, I want to ask you: do you have health insurance?
I'm not going to after this December 29th unless I'm making money by then.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're on your parents' insurance?
Yeah.
Like me? Okay, yeah. Mine is also going to end fairly soon.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that would be a priority for you to be on health insurance just in case, the worst happens and your health starts to fall?
Well, my priority, my priority is like finalizing my Forex strategy because if I can finalize that, then I would be good and I could, wait to make some money and then buy my own health insurance, things like that.
Yeah, but like, what about everybody who can't afford health insurance and they're sick?
I just don't think
they can't really make a lot of money because they're like physically like debilitated.
But we don't need to tax speculation to make the money for universal health care.
I'm just talking in terms of priority.
Yeah.
I'm just talking in terms of priority, like what we want to have our focus on. So if people can't afford to live somewhere, if people can't afford health insurance, if people can't afford food, if people can't afford to support their children, those are the people I think that we need to prioritize in society, right? Because we can only really grow if we're taking care of like the least privileged.
I think we can grow if we strengthen the moderate, because the least privileged, this is going to sound a little bit rough, but listen, hear me out. So rough that they'll never be able to,
What?
Let me word. The least privileged might have so rough that they'll never be able to be awesome. Whereas the middle class
be able to what?
Awesome. They'll never be able to be awesome.
Well, who says they need to be awesome?
Well, you want to have a strong economy that competes with China.
I just want people to be able to live.
I want us to be able to go to space. I want us to save the planet.
What's more of a priority? I would say save the planet is also really high on the priority, right?
Yeah, but
because people can't live if our world is dying and killing us.
Well, the world is not dying. People
absolutely is.
No.
The world isn't dying. It's just becoming less hospitable for us because we're killing it. But it's not going to outlive us. I mean, we're not going to outlive it.
I think that the worst case of global warming is that there's going to be massive poverty.
That's one aspect of the worst.
I don't think that there's going to be any extinction going on.
Why do you think that?
Why do I think that? Because
and there's already extinction going on.
Well, of like lesser creatures, but
creatures that are still like super important for like the the environment, right? For
not
us
necessarily.
Necessarily. There are animals like corals, fucking like coral and bees and just any number of animals that really, because we exist within an ecosystem, so every sort of change affects as a domino effect to all the others, and there are some that are more pivotal, sure, but they're ultimately and the death of any species that's going to impact any environment, right?
Yeah, but I mean, 12 years to stop a bunch of stuff before it's a domino effect to death. There's been
It's
a
already
lot
started.
but there's been a lot of counter arguments against the idea that that whole thing has been rolling.
What?
You know, yeah, that already started. We're already going to kill ourselves. I mean, that's hotly debated. So
People have already no. It's you mean like climate change? Like you do agree that climate change is real and humans are affecting it?
I'm saying that we're not gonna all die because of climate change.
Well, no, the
worst-case
hyper rich aren't, because they're gonna build seawalls and they're gonna have like private jets to fly them to different locations. It's gonna be the poorest of us that are gonna die first.
I don't think it's gonna be just the hyper rich. I don't think that it's gonna be like.
Well, it's gonna be people on the upper echelon of society. Wherever you want to draw that line, everyone below that line is in critical danger.
See, when you're talking about the upper echelon, I think the worst case scenario is that maybe you have like the bottom 50% of the world who isn't included.
They die?
Nano snapping?
The bottom like 75%, but I don't think the first world countries are going to get affected that much.
So,
and also,
Matt,
you have to
you're
think
not,
about
you're not a proponent of eugenics.
I'm not a proponent of eugenics. I'm
well,
just saying
you're describing eugenics.
No, I'm just saying thank God it's not me is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So, pretty not
I'm
good.
not saying that we should. So you have a lot of people who are saying, oh, in 12 years, these problems are going to happen, stuff like that.
No. They're saying in whatever time frame, like let's say 12 years, the problems that we're already seeing are going to come to a even like more critical level, where we're going to see like massive flooding and hurricanes that are going to displace millions of people.
Yeah.
And if you're afraid of immigrants coming into our country now, boy howdy, get ready for the next decade, dog.
Oh man, yeah, that's going to be something else.
Oh boy, it's going to be something else. Yes, indeed, we do.
Maybe it's just a bunch of hoax. I mean, who knows?
What?
Maybe I already said maybe it's a bunch of hoax.
You mean hoaxes?
Maybe anything.
I didn't.
Maybe my pants are sentient, and they can.
Maybe
talk to
aliens are going to come down and save us all in the next year.
Yeah.
Save us? I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal.
What? What's not big of a deal?
Well, do I think climate change is a big deal for the world? Yeah, because it might.
What? Because what?
It might result in death of 75% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
Seems pretty bad.
But as long as those people are poor, it doesn't. It's
as
not
long
that
as
big
those
a deal.
people aren't me. No.
So Matt, I'm just saying, like, that kind of justification is really kind of gross, don't you think? Like, you could pretty much justify any social atrocity or historical event that killed a bunch of people. Like, hey, at least it's not me.
Yeah, man.
But you don't know that. Like, you could be caught in some kind of like ecological disaster.
I could be caught in some fucking person's rage as a result of the disasters, and they just shoot me because I'm not one of them.
What? What are you talking about?
Like some guy who lost his house and I didn't lose my house. He starts breaking into people's houses and killing them because fuck these people. They have houses.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't
you want to stop that from happening?
Well, let's think about it. So, again, I don't want to tax speculation, and all the Democrats want to do that. That's like my thing, my personal thing. is don't tax the fucking speculation.
But you can survive without Wall
found
Street, though. Like 95% of America
I don't.
does.
I found my thing that I
Like
can.
your hobby is
But
more, your money
but
making hobby is more
Well, it's
important than the
not.
lives of the
Matt,
75% most poorest people in the
Matt,
world.
Matt,
That's
Matt,
literally what you're saying.
Matt. Can I jump in, Matt?
What?
So,
Bernie Sanders is not my candidate
Matt,
choice.
Matt, I understand that.
Bernie Sanders is not my candidate
Matt,
choice.
let me jump in here.
So
let me jump in here.
that's just what
let
I'm
me
gonna
jump
say.
in here, Matt.
Howdy.
So, hello. So, say you were able to with under new policies, right? Housing would be more affordable. Healthcare would be more affordable. Food deserts would start to dissolve, and you would see more accessible nutrition and stuff like that. All these things being like implemented, don't you think they would improve your life in a much more stable and productive way than just allowing you to trade without taxation?
Well, it's not without taxation; it's already taxed.
Yes, but without further taxation is what I mean.
I don't think so. I think if it were to take me out of that.
Well, what's more important? You being able to trade, or you affording healthcare and like being able to live in a place?
Well, I mean, in my current situation, it's both or neither. So,
what do you mean?
Well, Mike, I mean that's the life I'm living out for myself. My options are both or neither.
Not necessarily. No.
I mean, I could do anything I wanted for money, hypothetically, but
yeah.
That's not the path that I wish to choose, and I'm choosing a particular path that I want to choose, and I don't want people to tell me no.
What do you tell for people who don't have access to trading and stuff like that? They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the money to invest in trading.
I mean, I wouldn't say anything to them because I don't. If
you don't
I
care about them.
I don't ultimately care about everybody. I mean, you guy who hates humans. Every now and then, yeah, sometimes I'll be like, "Ugh, I hate everybody," because I'm pissed off at maybe like a few people.
Yeah, but don't you think it's more important that people be able to live than for you to trade money?
I think I think it's important that both happen, and that's why Bernie Sanders is.
Which, if you really had to pick one, though, in order, like, if you really had to like think about it hard, would you want more people to be to have access to healthcare, and you get taxed slightly more on trading, but you're still able to do it? Or would you?
If I was taxed slightly more and still able to do it, I would say yeah. But Bernie Sanders wants to tax it too much to where I wouldn't be able to do it. That's what I've been saying this whole time.
But if more of Bernie Sanders' policies were implemented, you would get that money back in terms of like free healthcare and free education, and you could like pretty much study whatever you wanted to, right? So you wouldn't be limited in terms of access to like the music or whatever the hell else you wanted to study and potentially get a job in. So you would be a lot less limited because you said that there are certain limitations placed on you that made you pick this line of work. If those limitations were eased or entirely gotten rid of, then your options would be much more open and you would have a much more stable foundation to then live out your life the way that you wanted to. And you would still be able to trade. It would just be taxed slightly more.
Well, if it was taxed slightly more and care, as I said specifically.
I mean, 1%, honestly, like I don't.
No. Saying is, okay, 1%. First off, it's 0.1%, but even that on Forex specifically, you're making money off of fluctuations that are less than 0.1%. 0.1% is 10 pips, and a lot of the times they'll make money off of like 7 pips, 5 pips.
Even accepting that you wouldn't be able to make any money whatsoever off of this, right? Mm-hmm. Is the value of like free education and access to healthcare and all of those things, right? Does that not for all people, including you, does not for you, like in terms of value, like outweigh the potential for you specifically and maybe a few other people who are like you to make maybe exponentially more money.
Exponentially?
I
I don't
mean,
know. I
you
just
have
don't think
the
it works
potential.
like
You
that.
have the potential.
I don't think it works like that. His specific tax is what turns me off because it deals with my line of work. It turns me off and it doesn't change my mind. And that's it. You worry about yourself and then you worry about other people. That's the way you do it.
I mean, it doesn't really sound like you're worried
Does it
about your. It doesn't sound like you're worried about your own healthcare though, because
right?
you're just
Like,
like,
like
I'll try to make
the
a much.
access.
I'll try to make enough money to afford it, but if I don't, oh well. So it doesn't sound like you
No,
care about
it's
yourself.
because it's not because I mean where I'm the strategy it's not looking like I'm not going to be able to make money with it. So at this point, it's kind of like, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm stubborn about it. I'm doing the thing, and I just if in any situation, let's say that maybe they wanted to tax people who were strippers like, oh yeah, you want to say trading is a stupid job, but what about strippers? That's just and
What?
then you get into that thing like,
I
and you
mean,
say, oh, we're going to tax strippers. Well, why should we tax strippers? What if that's what the girls want to do? They want to be strippers.
but if in exchange for that they get free healthcare and education, I'm saying most strippers are probably going to vote for Bernie.
Yeah.
Absolutely, hands
I
down. Yeah.
Like most people, because it's not like you're prioritizing the well-being of exclusively other people. Like you are also gaining from potentially having this. Like a lot of the things that you want that money for, you would then, regardless of having the money, specifically from trading,
Yeah, you would
right?
have.
And then all these other people would have access to that too, and they would then, and this is like objectively the case, be able to put more money back into the economy through being more productive people.
Hands down, hands
But
down.
listen, what we were talking about. Talking about, oh, I wouldn't necessarily, and people in here were me, and I was saying, well, having a 40-hour work week isn't the end of the world, but at the same time, it's not ideal. And if I can control my time through being self-employed, that's more ideal for my own goals. And I've been thinking about that for a while, and all the dread of, oof, I'm gonna be one of those office drones. Yuck. And that was like my whole thing for a very long
Well,
time before I
if you
figured
have a
out.
place to live and you have enough money to buy food and you have health care, the
Yeah, but
rest
you're
is kind of up to you, right? Like you can
well,
do
I don't
pretty much whatever you want because
see.
your base needs are met.
I don't know, man. Like if I'm spending more time giving it to like the whatever stupid job I don't like, or at the end of the day, whoever gets elected is whoever gets elected. And even if Bernie Sanders does get elected, I don't know how this tax is going to go with the rest of the people in the politics, the government. I don't know
That's
how it's going to go with
you
them.
understand that you kind of forfeited your argument. You're like, oh yeah, whoever's going to win is going to win. So whatever.
Because I don't want to talk about this, man. You know why
Okay,
I
all
don't
right,
talk?
that's fair enough. You could just say that instead.
I found something that might be like cool, and
Dude, I'm actually happy for you. Like that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying trading is bad, so therefore it should be taxed, so people don't do it
Yeah.
as much. I don't think that. I just think that
and not only
I
that,
just think people's basic needs should be met before we
from.
worry about anybody who has those needs met. Like that's pretty basic logic to me. We should be worrying about the people who can't afford to eat before we worry about the people who are going to make slightly less money trading. To me, the former is a much bigger issue.
but staying in that, I would be making significantly less, or not being able to do it at all. And
So
we've
you
already
wouldn't
talked
be
about.
making enough to get by, because what
I
I'm
wouldn't.
suggesting is
I
that
really
it would
wouldn't.
be so much easier to get by if
Well,
you
not
did.
okay. So no, because I wouldn't be making. So if he's taxing it 0.1%, then I would not be able to turn a $2,500 account more money because he'd be taxing it too much. You wouldn't be able to, it would be improperly risky to trade large time frames with $2,500. You don't do that. When you have the small accounts you need to make a certain amount of percentage in a
This is
shorter
such a
amount of time.
specific issue, though, for you to
This
make
is
for you to
yeah,
make a deciding vote on who you think you should run the fact
because
that you think that like President Trump, he's like you're pretty ambivalent towards him, like you don't really care either way. It's like there's so many problems that are so much more pressing and affect you in so many more fundamental ways that I think it's a little bit of an obfuscation to say, well, this very specific, tax plan is going to tax people in my sector slightly more than what we think should be negotiable. Which is like, dude, people can't eat, people can't, get outside
and
the door because
all those people who can't eat and all those people who can't get outside the door, I've talked to all sorts of people. I don't get along with them, so it's
you don't
it's
get
kind
along
of
with
like.
people who can't eat. Maybe they're hangry.
But that's why I don't want to talk about it, because that brings the conversation to like my isolation, and I want to be a musician, but I can't get along with people very well, so I fear I can't make money off of being a musician at all, and that's why I don't try. I also don't drive, and my home situation is complicated, and I can't get outside the house, and sometimes I feel like my mom is like a manipulator, and she's been manipulating me my whole life, and that's why I'm a
Those are
pussy. And
Sam,
we can.
I can
these are my internal thoughts. So
Yeah,
like,
Sarah, you guys could talk for like another hour about that.
yeah, I can very specifically relate to a significant that. So I assure you, I have like no small amount of sympathy for that situation.
Yeah, like we can talk about that stuff if you want, but it seems a little personal. I don't know if you want to go into it.
well, see, that is personal, and like if I can work from home, then I don't have to worry about a lot of things, But see,
But
that's where
if
we get
someone,
in.
but the idea, right? If I can, excuse me, but like the
Okay.
idea is right, like because I would say I'm in a pretty similar situation, right? Like I'm physically disabled. I can't stand up for extended periods of time, as in more than half an hour a day. So like I lose access to like a large variety of like external work. I also have social anxiety, etc. Right? Like I totally understand the perspective you're coming from, and I also can financially benefit from exactly the things you're talking about. But it's like I can still recognize the ways my life be so much more empowered through like having access to again like healthcare and like free education and the sort of things that Bernie is espousing, right? Like those would be infinitely more helpful to me money personally, even if I did have like some kind of attachment to that as like some kind of sense of freedom that I gained, like the kind of freedom that I would gain through like not having to worry about those basic needs and knowing that like other people wouldn't either, I think is more valuable. Is that not something you see?
Well, see, the thing is that the freedom that I feel with this prospect that I have is basically me about the fact that I have to worry about health insurance, because I mean, if I can afford health insurance, I can afford it. It's not a big deal that I have to pay for it if it's not going to be a substantial amount of my money. What else? I don't need free college. I'm in my last semester of college. I've always had financial aid through the government as it was. And this semester, I'm not paying any. I've got state grants and things like that, and that system works, as far as I know. I've been able to go through college on financial aid as it is. So I don't really need free college. And I know that, and I had to pay back my financial loans. And if I couldn't afford them, they were only demanding they were only demanding $15 a month. If
Well,
you
they
don't even
want
have to.
6,000 for me up front, so
Oh, I'm talking about government loans. I never took out any private loans. I don't know that fucking world, the world of private loans. All I know with the government loans is that if
yeah,
you say
no, they are
you
very
can't,
generous.
if you
I will
say
absolutely
you can't pay them back, but you can, but you don't, you say that you can't, they are only going to ask for $15 a month. You don't have to prove shit to them, and they just,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it only works for a certain period of time, but yes, that is the case. But regardless, right, you're arguing that like this loss, right, that you would have from losing access to this like financial mobility would be detrimental to you in like a significant way. And if at least like your most basic needs, and even more like access to school. I mean, I know you're already going to school and that's been nice for you, but you could go again. And at that point, like the government does stop supporting you if you choose to get a second degree. You would just have the kind of freedom in your life to pursue like literally whatever you wanted, right? And is that not like sort of more valuable to you than like this very specific thing you found?
I think the very specific thing that I found is very valuable to me right now. So that's just why I don't support Bernie. The very specific thing that I found has been life changing, and it has been mindset changing, and
Imagine how life
completely
changing
lost.
though, like access to all these things would be for like even to some degree you, and also to so many other people.
I guess so, but at the same time, it's just I found my esoteric thing. I am selfish in this regard. I don't care. I can be.
At least
You
you can
know,
admit it.
if you say that I'm a bad person because of this particular thing, then go ahead, because we can talk about any other situation that doesn't involve this topic, and you might find that I'm not an asshole. But if when it comes down to this, I want to
I am
do my
making
thing.
no moral judgments. I am just saying that your argument, if your argument is based on selfishness, is not really sound.
And ultimately, I think that the best candidates, I don't even think that these taxes will go forth, because there's understand, such as liquidity for people's pensions, and speculation in the forex market prevents currencies from crashing, and a lot of stuff. So the idea that speculation is bogus will probably never go through. If it does, then there's going to be a lot of problems. You're going to have a lot of insecurity in currency transactions,
Right.
and they're going to be volatile. It's just going to be nuts.
Okay, Matt. Got a question for you about if Bernie dropped that specific tax from his policies or whatever, would you consider voting for him?
Oh, if he dropped that, if he yeah, definitely. If he dropped that and he was just like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do that shit. I said definitely, but now I have to think about it. I got in the mood. No, let me rethink that. So, excuse me. I might have to think about it, because for a while I haven't been thinking about it, and the reason why is because I know his stance on the one particular issue, and that's made me stop thinking about it. So I haven't maintained such about Bernie Sanders that would open me up to thinking about whether or not I want to vote for him.
Okay.
Because I don't really know. There's people on the other spectrum who, as we're having, that are going to say the complete opposite. And me, as an observer on some of these topics, because I don't spend that much time researching politics and researching specific things,
I believe you.
I only know what people argue, and from the basics of it, it seems like people typically go in circles. Like, these arguments go in circles. When it comes to should healthcare be free? Well, I think for the first part, I think that people should be allowed to have family plans on health insurance like you do for cell phones. I don't know what the whole 26-year-old rule is, but I don't know why you can't have a family plan for health insurance like you do.
What if your family doesn't give a fuck about you? Just curious.
Well, if your family doesn't, then that sucks, and that shouldn't be the case. It's not the way that I view family, but that's not my family situation, and yet I'm still getting shoved off of the health insurance, and it's kind of like, well, why can't?
It'd be nice if there was something that covered both you and people whose parents didn't give a fuck about them, right?
In a sense, I think that you have to consider the economic ramifications of universal
But every other fucking country does this. Every other fucking country, and their healthcare is fine.
I don't know how much I get mixed reviews from people in the other countries. Some
anecdotally, not like
right? Nobody
statistically.
likes bureaucracy.
Yeah, I know it is anecdotal, and that's what I'm going off of because I'm talking to people from different countries, and they say, "Oh, this healthcare in this country sucks. This healthcare in Australia sucks, mate. Yeah, the healthcare in
Dude,
Greece
can you knock
sucks."
it off with the racist accents, please?
They're not
Seriously, I'm
racist.
getting triggered.
I'm
I mean,
I'm doing
look,
racist.
like
Yeah,
I've
I've
heard
heard
the
that
same
the
sort of things from people, like absolutely, and I recognize that, like, of course, no healthcare system that's in place right now is perfect, but like the things that those people specifically any sort of broad system, right? It's literally just bureaucracy, like long wait times, people with like complex conditions being sort of brushed over by the system. Like those are problems that are consistent throughout any system, and they are especially bad in the American healthcare system. So there's really no reason to insist to like prioritize what we already have over what they have. If it's better, like financially, which it sort of demonstrably is, and like the quality is obviously not like significantly better way. It's at least like similar parallel. Would you like at least agree to that?
well, I think that one thing we could do. Yeah, I did that on another podcast. If you remember that, Saren, do you remember sniffing in the other podcast? It was like this
Yeah.
joke. So you
Yeah.
probably so oh Saren probably I don't know. Saren probably remembers some of the more embarrassing moments of mine as well in these podcasts. But anyway,
I remember absolutely nothing distinctly embarrassing. I think it was fine. Even the sniffing. I'm a very generous person.
oh,
It's
you don't
just
have any hard.
sometimes when Matt, particularly if you like start to speak or make a noise or whatever, it'll like cancel out the other people in the room for some reason. So it's just to like
Oh
get as much. No, I mean I'm not trying to like dog on you or whatever.
no,
Um,
I think it's funny. I'm just imagining a situation like I'm a third party person and like listening to in the chat speak, and this other guy is going, and it's like this big like crash cymbal type noise.
yeah. Oh
It's
man, it's such a
disrupting the
great
whole
noise to
thing.
listen to. It's not aggravating me at all. Oh man. Anyway,
All right.
sorry. Go ahead. What were we talking about?
Mm,
I really didn't mean to cut you
oh,
off there.
good. Oh yeah, healthcare stuff like that.
Yeah, but sorry, do you remember what you said before I talked about sniffing?
Oh, sniffing. Oh, before. Oh, something about just previous podcasts and sniffing.
No, but I cut you off before you were about to respond to something. Do you remember what that was?
It was like universal healthcare in other countries. What do people think of it? Yeah.
Okay. So, Sarah, are you there? Hello?
Yes. 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 Sorry.
Ah.
It's taking a minute. I will be right back.
Oh, okay. All right. Actually, I think I'm going to stop this stream pretty soon, unless we have like
Oh.
really pressing something we really want to, get off our chests.
Wow. Well, this seemed to end pretty quickly tonight.
We went for 2 hours. That's a pretty standard runtime for
It
these
is.
type of things. And it's just getting kind of
Okay.
late, so I think I'm gonna.
Well, it was a good evening.
Yeah, and we can get back into it. I can even like listen to what they said before to get us, going on the next one if you want. But I'd say Matt, this is probably one of our more productive conversations, and I tried to take a back seat for part of it because economics is not my strong point. I kind of try to look at things from, the empathetic, philosophical kind of lens. So I'm not super experienced in the world of economics or trading or shit like that. I just know that I like people to be alive and be able to, you know. Anyway, Saren, any last? Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words? You want to sign off with anything?
treat people with respect and shit. Let's not have like 75% of the world's population die. Hey.
Yeah. And Matt, you made it the whole stream without misgendering anyone. I'm really proud of you.
I had one slip up.
Did you? I don't. Maybe I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fine. I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right.
Adios.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Peace out.
Nice.
Good night.